Today, we're joined by Daniel Palacios, better known as HVAC Tech Tapes.
HVAC definitely provides a lot of opportunity. I worked a lot of random jobs until I got settled down into HVAC. But I did a whole maintenance on the wrong unit on the rooftop of a mall.
This is like the doctor that does surgery on the wrong leg kind of a thing.
That unit doesn't know who it belongs to, I guess, but yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to The Dispatch, where job site legends get the mic. Join me every other Thursday as I sit down with the biggest names in the trades to find out what's really happening to keep America running. So whether you're on the road or in the garage beer in hand, settle in for a great conversation. I'm Ryan Prosser, and this is The Dispatch. Welcome back to The Dispatch, where job site legends get the mic. Today, we're joined by Daniel Palacios, better known as HVAC Tech Tapes, a commercial HVAC technician from Brownsville, Texas, who's built a huge following on YouTube by sharing life in the field, tool talk, and advice with new technicians. Daniel, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Cool. So we got a lot to cover, man. You're into a lot of things that I like. But maybe give us 30 seconds on your background for the folks at home.
Well, I'm an HVAC apprentice, completed my second year, just thrown into commercial. So that was a whole thing in itself. From Brownsville, it's a small city, worked in the whole lower Texas. I do a little bit of traveling, big family man, big sports guy, and love talking about, anything kind of conspiracy, cryptids, stuff like that.
Love it. All right, so there's a lot to cover there. Love talking about family. Love talking about South Texas. So longtime viewers know my parents got tired of my crap in high school and shipped me off to military school. And so I went to military school down there in Harlingen, right next to Brownsville. I assume it's still there, MMA, Marine Military Academy. Do you know it right there on the border? You can see Mexico from the campus.
Yeah, I think it's still there. There's a lot of military guys around Austin, so pretty sure.
It was, so I'm sure that folks that served will nod their head. Nobody is really thinking about the heat, it seems to me, when they're designing military uniforms, right? Like, it's about looking sharp. It is not about like the thermal properties of the gear. Because I mean, dude, when you're down in Brownsville, and for folks that can't imagine Brownsville, Daniel, I'm not going to do it service, but this is going to be for folks at home that don't know Texas all that well. So Texas comes to kind of a pointy, end at the very, very bottom, if you can imagine the shape of Texas, and that's actually where the Rio Grande, I believe it's the Rio Grande, right? Or is it the Colorado? Yeah, the Rio Grande, once upon a time put out into the Gulf of Mexico. I think it's dry now. Does it still run all the way to the Gulf of Mexico?
I think it does. There's a water there when I see it.
Okay, well, that's great. All right, so the Rio Grande terminates, whatever you want to call it, at the Gulf of Mexico, or maybe it's the Gulf of America now. I'm not sure on that either, but that's right where Brownsville is, right? So it's like a big agricultural community down in that part of the world.
Yeah, we got SpaceX and Starbase here now, so that kind of helps me explain where we're at to people.
When I was a resident, we're talking late 90s, and NASA kind of still had a stranglehold on space travel up in more like the Houston part of the world at that time. But what is that? So obviously this is a bit more of an HVAC show, but just to focus on Brownsville a little bit, how has that changed things? I thought of this as a major agricultural, Mexican migrant community type of a situation at that time. Now you've got like this $1.7 trillion startup based there. What has that done?
I feel like it's divided the community a little bit, actually. You have people that are like super for it, and then you have others that are saying like, oh, don't fund them, they're destroying our land. I'm kind of in the middle, I'm not this or that way. I do know it's getting packed. There's a lot more people coming to this city, and it's creating more jobs, which is good. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's getting packed here. It's getting too full, and our roads can't handle it that well. It's a lot of traffic. So
Is that right?
yeah.
The other thing I remember about Brownsville, I talked about it with the sweltering heat being in this military uniform all the time. It was the heat. I mean, this is a part I see these maps sometimes where they overlay if America was a different part of the world, what would it be? And Texas is like Iraq. That's the one you see a lot. It's like, especially South Texas, it's like, oh, that's the weather equivalent to Iraq, which is funny because they both have oil, they both got sweltering heat. That feels like a pretty terrific place to be an HVAC technician, right? Like job security's got to be real high in that part of the world.
Yeah, yeah, it's all straight cooling calls. We hardly get any heating calls, and there's even several sites of ours that don't even have heat strip or gas heat. Like they don't even want to pay for it because it's not really a big issue here. But yeah, definitely job security. We got a lot of work here.
Up here in Montana, it's funny. So we just spent the 4th of July weekend. So for folks, here as we're taping, it's the Monday after the 4th of July. Mexico sadly just lost their World Cup game yesterday. So I always love to call out these timestamp things that nobody will be thinking about by the time they listen to this. Everybody's going to be thinking about college football, which, we've got a big one coming up for folks in Texas. But, it's funny in this part of the world here in Montana, almost no one has air conditioning, and in my youth in Texas, almost no one had heating, but you would see fireplaces because Texans love to have things that they don't need, like fur coats. My mom had fur coats. I'm like, lady, what are you doing with the fur coats? This is insane. But Texans always want to have everything going on. But it sounds like in Brownsville, people are saying, we don't even need the ability to generate heat, that we just walk outside and we get it for free.
Basically, yeah, yeah. It's very rare. Our coldest temperature gets to maybe 50, and that's like for a day, two, and that's it. But my grandma, she just puts a bunch of socks and blankets over. This AC's off. She has heating, but she just has it off. I'm like, okay, if it works, it works.
I know we were talking in the pre-show that sports wise, one of the things you're into is the Rangers. I grew up in Seabrook, Texas, just south, kind of the Gulf of Mexico, near south of Houston. I think now people would think of it maybe as being in Houston, but huge Astros fan. Grew up going to as many Astros games as I could go to. I've not really known many Rangers fans in my life. And I know that everybody in North Texas just threw their arms in the air. Okay, get over yourself, guys. The Rangers were never. It was funny because the Rangers of the 90s, okay, so for folks at home of a certain age, I'm going to take you back. I remember watching Sunday Night Baseball in, let's call it 1997, 98. Somebody at home is going to be able to look this up and figure it out. And I watched Juan Gonzalez hit a grand slam. I think he had 8 RBIs that day, and it put him at 101 RBIs at the All-Star break. And I remember thinking, man, we're going to see somebody. If anybody ever had a shot to have 200 RBIs in a season, it's Juan Gonzalez, and it's this season. And he ended up having a monster season. I think he had 160 RBIs. But those Rangers teams couldn't pitch for shit. They couldn't. And so they just mashed these, but they'd lose 8-6 or whatever, And meanwhile, the Astros a little bit more boring, but they got it done. They were competitive in the 90s. But I think just because Texas and Houston, or Dallas and Houston, have such rivalry, you didn't have any Rangers fans in Houston. I mean, 0.0 Rangers fans. What's the dominant force in Brownsville? Like when you're walking around talking baseball, like, is it 60-40, 80-20? Like who's dominating down in your part of the world?
I'd say 90% Astros, man. Honestly, I bump heads with almost everybody here just because I'm a Rangers fan and we're kind of rivals. Yeah, it's not big here. It's not big here in South Texas. It's all Astros predominantly.
The other thing that you're into, and folks at home probably did not see this coming unless they follow you on YouTube, Bigfoot. So you don't see a lot of people. Listen, I'm probably coming to the conclusion I don't think Bigfoot exists. I want to hear your take on it. It seems like you do. but your part of the world wouldn't provide a lot of coverage for Bigfoot, right? Like the Brownsville that I recall is dead flat, flat as a pancake, open as the day is long. I mean, Bigfoot, if Bigfoot was there, he would be spotted in his first 3 or 4 minutes, right, in Brownsville. So I assume that you're thinking about different parts of the world for Bigfoot.
Yeah, I think I believe in a lot of like cryptids in general, like I don't know, Dogman, Mothman, bunch of stuff. I think Bigfoot's just like the easy thing that everybody knows. Yeah, I think South Texas people, the lore probably believes in the chupacabra.
Yeah,
It's like,
right. That's the
yeah,
one we hear about a lot.
yeah, but I think Bigfoot's out there, man. I don't think he's a regular fella like you and me. I think there's something supernatural about him, but I think he's out there.
This episode is brought to you by FieldMind, the go-to app for HVAC technicians. Got a fault code? Need a manual? Stuck on a diagnostic? Stop waiting on tech support. Just ask FieldMind. Simply snap a picture of the nameplate or type in your question and get back to work. Try FieldMind for free on iPhone or Android. FieldMind, built for the hands that keep America running. If you had to guess, in your lifetime, what do you think we're most likely to see? Is it a large Bigfoot style mammal? Okay, that could be anything from any kind of mammal, but like large and mythical in nature, right? Bigfoot, chupacabra, whatever the case may be. A large under the water animal. Okay, so the mind goes to, some kind of buried megalodon or the Loch Ness monster, something of that nature. Or do you think we're more likely to see something extraterrestrial, aliens, that sort of thing? Which of these, if you were putting the Vegas odds on, what we might see in your lifetime, how do you land on that?
Things are heating up a lot about aliens, so I'd probably put it on extraterrestrials, to be fair. That
Yeah,
seems to be a hot topic right now.
I sadly think that you are correct. I don't think that one's going to go well for us. I don't know how you'd handle. I'd say 90-10 against. There's a 10% chance that they are either here or they visit and they say, "Wow, this is a neat place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there." I think there's a 90% chance that they harvest our organs. We turn out to be delicious, or nothing, by the way, can be worse for a species than being delicious. I say this all the time, like poor pigs, for example, like whatever they did in their previous life to make them taste so good has totally cursed them in this one. But the alien thing, I think, goes really badly for the humans.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about HVAC a little bit so we can earn our paychecks here. But you mentioned being early in your career. Can you talk about like what it's been like so far? We have a lot of listeners at home that are, either just getting started or thinking about getting started in the trade. What's your experience been so far?
I think HVAC definitely provides a lot of opportunity just in general. There's so many different avenues you can take. You can stay in the field, you can, do marketing, go into management, supply house. I love that. I've been talking with my wife, and I think the thing that's been bugging me most is not knowing exactly what avenue I want to focus on next, like long term. But that's a good problem to have, like you're not capped out at a dead end job. I love that there's so much opportunity, and it's actually a struggle to pick what you want to do next. So it's been good so far.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I've seen for people that are, so I think you're in your late 20s. Is that correct? So, one of the things that I've seen kind of be the hallmark of people that are doing well in their 40s and doing well, what does that mean? The way I mean it here is like they're making good money. They got a nice truck, a nice home, financially secure, but also they enjoy what they do. They go to work and they like it. You could definitely tell the difference between the two. Let me say, hey, I'll say this to 20 somethings. You can tell from even your vantage point as a 20 something, if somebody likes their job in their 40s, just do they have any life in their eyes at all? And you want to do what it takes to be the guy that likes what he's doing. And you don't, and let me tell you, the path to get there often involves doing a lot of kind of different things in your 20s within your trade to understand, to your point, are you operations? Are you the technical guy solving the problem? Are you on the sales side helping architect solutions and so forth? And really, if you can put out of your mind for a period of time, which one is going to pay me $1 an hour more or $1,000 a year more, if you could push that out of your mind and really say, I'm just going to optimize, I'm going to really prioritize learning so that by the time I'm in my, early 30s, mid 30s, I've gotten a good cross section of this business. I know what I like, I know what I'm good at, and now I'm going to start to really like drill into that. Those are the guys that by the time you're in your 40s or late 30s even, you know, they seem to really have it figured out because they've gone down a lot of different avenues. I don't know, Daniel, what is that kind of your outlook? Has that been your experience as well?
I mean, one of the things that people say, what do I regret in HVAC? If there's anything I regret, for me, it's been not starting sooner. I see a lot of these guys that are like in their 20s, 19s that have already chosen the field and they've already learned so much and set themselves up for success. I think it's cool to have it figured out that early. But then there's people like me who tried a bunch of different things. I worked a lot of random jobs until I got settled down into HVAC. But yeah, it's definitely kind of helped me get more perspective. Like, okay, this is what I do like, this is what I don't like, and now we're here.
It seems like, I mean, I look at, I'm going to do some broad gender stereotyping here, probably get canceled out of it, but it always seems like women have a better sense of what they're doing in their 20s. They get it figured out. They kind of just whatever, and they're able to kind of drive things forward. And for guys, my message is always listen, if you feel like you're wasting your 20s, you're probably doing it right. Like it's okay, just try a lot of different things. You've got so much time later in life to knuckle down and get serious. But by your late 20s, typically it's about time to really get serious. It sounds like that's been your course as well. But I don't know, for men, it feels like that's an important time to go down some different paths, try some different things out. Because the worst thing in the world is you roll into your 30s with lots of things you wish you'd done, but you got too serious too fast. So it sounds like that's been your experience. So you're about 2 years into HVAC, you're 29 years old, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I've worked. My first job was like door to door sales. So I've done commission sales. I worked at a bank. I worked in ministry at my church for a good amount of time, and somehow I ended up in blue collar HVAC. So I've tried a lot of avenues, but definitely now having gotten married, having a baby has definitely been like, okay, I need to really see how am I going to set my family up for success in the long run.
Well,
So yeah,
Jesus was famously a carpenter, but I think modern day Jesus might have been an HVAC technician. Like I think that might have been the direction he'd gone with this.
true that. True that. He's got subcooling, superheat all figured out there.
That's right. Yes, that's right. No, it's a lot easier, I think, to part the Red Sea. Maybe that actually I lost track of who that was, but I think a lot of like walking on water gets real easy if you know how to freeze it, right?
Oh, yeah. You understand the chemical side of everything. That'll
That's
help.
right. That's right. So, um, yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's a repeated theme of folks I think that do well in HVAC were also not always, but you see this theme of like very active in their church, and I think it seems that I'm speculating. Okay, I don't know, but it seems like if you're active in your church, you know how to engage with a broad number of people, meet people where they're at. It definitely teaches politeness and manners and a belief in helping others. And one of the things that comes through in your content is like you really seem to enjoy helping new technicians and folks that are eager to learn and better themselves. In your mind, is there any connective tissue with your time in the church there?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. My big thing personally is I love teaching. I love, kind of teaching, mentoring, helping, whatever it is called. In the church, that's what I would primarily do. I was in the worship band for uh, at least 10 years, I believe, and my big role there was like helping train new people to join the band. And now I'm doing HVAC, and I'm like, oh shit, now kind of like training new people to join HVAC. So yeah, I think I learned a lot of my values there and found my passion for teaching there, and now I get to do it in this industry too. So it's been fun.
So when you say band, do you mean band like music?
Yeah, like electric guitar, drums, the whole nine yards. Yeah,
What do you play? What is your personal specialty?
electric guitar. That's the main one, and a little bit of bass.
Bro, I played the bass. Let's
There
go.
there you go. Yeah, bass is
What?
fun, man.
Bass is great. I mean, you're in the band. Listen, I don't want to diminish your bass skills. My bass skills are extremely minimal, but I know how to hear the key that we're in, and I can kind of catch up with a very basic bass line. And so now I'm in the band. That gets me in the band, and then the guitarists and the vocalists will really be the ones that carry things, but um do you have a preferred for guitar? Are you like a Martin guy, Taylor, like
Primarily Fender. That's
Fender?
pretty much
Okay, so you're
everything.
playing electric.
Yeah.
So you're a Stratocaster, Telecaster, like
Um, I like I believe it was the Jaguar, the Jag. That was like
okay, yeah,
a hybrid version. I really like that one, and of course Stratocaster is good too. But
dude, Strats, yeah, big time. That's awesome. So you would be pulling people into the band. I'm curious. I mean, now we're off in a tangent, but are you looking for existing musicians and you're introducing them to religion, or are you taking people that are already in the church and introducing them to music?
people in the church would try to like I guess audition. People that were already there and they want to join the band. Um, we kind of have like a mini school for getting them up to date with the way we did things because they went all out there. They had like in ears, you could have monitor, metronome, everything on your headphones, and um, yeah, it's a whole little process. But yeah, people wanting to join the band when they're already there.
So I jam with people here locally in Bozeman. Shout out to Gibson Guitars, who they make a lot of their guitars here in Bozeman, Montana. People don't realize that, but they've been doing that for about 40 years now. And I worked with Gibson. I just reached out to him. I sent him a cold email out of nowhere, and I said, "Hey, can we get a guitar program going at my kids' elementary school?" And they said yes. And so we've been all kind of playing guitar ever since. But one of the things I've observed is in the world of music, you can teach pretty much anything. Like if you're out there and you want to learn to play guitar, let me tell you, you can. I don't care who you are. I mean, as long as you have the physical tools and you got, two arms and 10 fingers helps a lot. But if you got those things, you can learn to play guitar. This is not a born with it or not born with it thing. Daniel, that has not been my experience with vocals. Okay. And I want to talk about vocals for a minute because everybody, I always said American Idol was basically two different shows. You had the beginning of American Idol where we were watching how badly America is at singing. So they would like have the people, and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then we start to filter down to like these deeply gifted people and they compete against each other. And that's the back half of the show. How did your band? I mean, I think of the church as one of the most polite space. They want to make room for everybody. How are you accommodating the fact that most people can't sing for shit?
Uh, yeah, that was a lot. That was a point of friction, I'll say, right there. It's it's so weird. I never had to be the one to break it to them, but yeah, they would say like, "Hey, like it's not working out right now." I don't know what they would say, but they would recommend like vocal lessons or training. But But yeah, they believe the way they believed it is like you had to have the ability to do it. You know, I agree with you. Anyone can learn an instrument, but singing, you kind of gotta have it.
Yeah, I mean, guitar, again, just to say it to people at home, you can get a guitar today from the thrift store for $100. Wherever you live in America, there's gonna be a halfway decent, six string, $100 that you could get, maybe 200, whatever, depending on where you live. Just an acoustic basic guitar. And if you stick with it, get somebody to teach you the basics. I'm not a huge believer of the online lessons. I suppose people can do that, but music, you do benefit from getting somebody that knows to show you. But if you just put a year into it, 1 year from today, if you're at home, I'm telling you, I've seen it now over 20 times. You could be pretty good at guitar. And once you're pretty good, you're off to the races. You could pretty much pick up any song because there's only about 5 or 6 chords that matter. So now you're just stringing them together in whatever order. And it really transforms people to have that outlet. Pick up a guitar and just, be able to go. The vocals thing, like you said, folks, proceed with caution is all I can say. I think what Daniel's probably not saying is one of the things I've seen is they'll record people and then they'll play back the recording. Once people hear themselves singing badly, they kind of like, okay, well, maybe I should be on the tambourine, is the conclusion a lot of people come to. But yeah, man, music, I'm a huge believer. And I love that was the role that you were playing there. And I, just to bring it back to content, so, that was your role in the church. You've really created quite a following for yourself on YouTube, helping people there. Are you surprised by that? Has your success there taken you by surprise?
Oh, definitely, man. I definitely wasn't expecting a lot. I didn't know what to expect because I've loved content creation. I've made so many YouTube channels growing up. Some of them are still live, which are hidden because they're too cringy.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I know
but
that.
I've always loved it, and I started YouTube to market my dad's AC company because he does AC. Um, I don't work with him right now. I'm working at a different company, but that's how it started, and that's how I started. And somewhere along the way, I just started making videos that were fun to me, and now we're here. So it's been super cool. It's been cool to see it grow and actually um, do well.
I want to know, put down in the comments, what YouTube channel did you start that you look back on now and it's just like cringe factor to the max, but you were totally into it at the time. I want to know what everybody was up to previously. So put it down in the chats and let's get a conversation started. So Daniel, bringing it back here, I'm curious, so we're gonna turn here to the audience, but as you think about the traction you've gotten, what are the themes that you have noticed, whether they've surprised you or not? Like things that really get a lot of traction. Maybe there are topics that people are like either really eager to talk about or really obviously need help with.
The algorithm's funny, Sometimes I'll put something that I think this is gonna hit and it just doesn't. And then I'll put something that I'm like didn't really try to edit or I'm just like, this is just to fill in the upload for the week, and then that one really hits. But in a large scale, I think definitely my troubleshooting videos are one of the biggest ones where activity, questions, comments, likes, all that, and day in the life videos. So I think I think the day in the life is mostly for people to see, hey, this is what the technician does. This is what my day to day does. This is what it looks like. If you're interested or not, I kind of like that style video to show people this is what life is like in the field. And then the troubleshooting is more specifically for my technicians out there, maybe you people or people transitioning to service. Um, I think they're definitely interested in how, looking for low voltage shorts, high voltage shorts. That's kind of mainly what I do for my videos. So, yeah.
So I think we've got a couple of audience questions that we're gonna look at. Susie, what have we got today?
Hey everyone. So we have a couple of audience questions here. Let's start with this one. Hey guys, this is Scott from Florida. If you had to start over with only $500 for tools, what are you buying first?
$500, man. With this economy, that's tough. But you got to have a field piece meter. All right, field piece. Start with that. Multimeter. An impact. Got to have a Klein 11-in-1. That's gonna have all your drill bits for the most part. Tool bag, and your gauges, manifold gauges. If that's 500, I don't know, but I could do a lot with just that. Manifold, meter, impact, and sockets, screwdriver.
So I have a question. So before we go to the audience question, so one of the things people know you for is tool talk. I'm curious, and maybe it's one of the ones you just listed. If you could keep one tool for the rest of your career, like what's an example of a buy a great one and keep it forever tool?
I think it's got to be your meter. They're expensive. The reason I said field piece is because they have a lot of great entry level price points. I use a Fluke 52.2. That one is more towards like the 500 mark, but it's just really good. It does everything I need. So I feel like that's a cry once, buy once. Is that the saying? I think
Yeah.
that one.
What's the biggest waste of money in terms of tools that you personally have purchased so far?
I'm gonna put myself on blast. Okay. So I gotta say it's one of the smart manifolds. I just got a smart manifold because it has its place, but I think probes are so much better. I think you could do everything with probes. So I would say smart manifolds. That's my thing.
What's a tool that you use in a non-traditional way? For example, using a crescent wrench to like this, you wouldn't do this, but a crescent wrench to hammer in a nail when you don't have a hammer handy, kind of a thing.
Sometimes there's screws in like really tight spaces where an impact socket can't reach, and I know they sell a little ratcheting one, but I use my pump pliers to just grab it, just twist it. It's not effective. It's very slow, but that's what I do.
All right, last one. Let's get the internet really riled up here. What's your hottest HVAC tool take?
I think those little thermometers, they like flip out. It's a little stick. I think those are not good for checking RTUs. I think you should use a long thermocouple to actually get in there, reach the coldest temperature or hottest temperature, whatever it is. Yeah, sometimes I don't trust those little thermometers, the little flip ones.
I love it. I want to hear in the comments section what everybody else thinks, and I want to give you 5 bonus points, which is a lot, because your hot take was thermometer related. All right, so that should be worth something on its own. Let's do one more audience question before we head to our big finale. Susie, what else you got for us?
Hey guys, this is Julio from New Mexico. What's the dumbest mistake you've made on a job that you can laugh about now?
Okay, I have a lot.
Perfect.
My
Yes.
apprenticeship first year was a lot of learning experiences. There's one I tell a lot of people that I did a whole maintenance on the wrong unit on the rooftop of a mall. Um, I was the only tech. It was a new customer. We never serviced that store, so I didn't have anyone to ask questions to. We didn't have model serial number, make, nothing. And finally, I come across a unit that says the store name written on there. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is it. It wasn't it. It wasn't it. So I didn't find out until like the next time they had a service call. They said it's like not cooling, and I'm like, what do you mean it's cooling? But yeah, that wasn't the unit, and that's when I found out it was the wrong unit that I serviced. So there you
So
go.
it got discovered because they called in with the same symptom. They were like unit not functioning, and you went back. This is like the doctor that does surgery on the wrong leg kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely felt that way, and yeah, it's funny. Um, I only walk by that unit now, and now it has like two different names on it, like two different store names written on it. So I'm just like, that unit doesn't know who it belongs to, I guess. But
Last question. I'm going to pull together two items that we've talked about in this episode already. Which do you think is the higher probability of happening this decade? Rangers winning the World Series or discovery of any kind of Bigfoot style creature?
well, the Rangers won in 2023, so we just need to repeat it. But I mean, I don't know, Bigfoot. I'm just gonna say I want to see Bigfoot, so let's see Bigfoot come out.
I love it. All right, so you heard it here first. We are going to see Bigfoot be discovered by the end of the decade. That's the prediction. Do you have a part of the world that you think we're going to be looking at? A lot of people say Pacific Northwest. You hear Siberia, Alaska.
I'm gonna say Oregon. I think he loves those pine trees up there. It's the hot spot for him. So he's just got to come out. He's just a little shy. Give him some space. He'll come out.
Do you have any? I mean, Oregon. Listen, okay, we're supposed to be wrapping up. I got more questions. So Oregon is a pretty populated state, relatively speaking. You know, you got all kinds of granola, whatever, like backpackers in there. No trace, no credible footage at all. What's your theory when they find him or her on what types of, I mean, is it camouflage, or is this a hyper intelligent type of a situation? Is it nocturnal? Like, why are we this late in the game and we still haven't even gotten any iPhone footage, or anything like that?
Um, so they call it woo woo. So like supernatural, mystical stuff. I believe that's what it is. I think he's just hides from the camera. It doesn't work. Cameras don't work around him. Maybe he's camera shy. I don't know, but there's too many stories out there, man. There's too many stories. There's got to be something going on. So that's my take on it.
Okay. So the answer was woo woo, which I'm still not super clear, but I don't know exactly what woo woo means. It feels like a catch all of like it's a difficult to photograph being, and I was hoping you were going to say something like powers of invisibility, but just garden variety, difficult to photograph.
That fits into woo woo invisibility.
That fits into woo woo. I just learned this weekend that I don't want to give away the game here, but in Northwest Montana, where my son's grandparents live, so this is like sparsely populated, probably for the rest of the world exactly what you think it's like. It's like mountain lakes, nobody's there. And a lot of people like to go around and hunt for arrowheads and other Native American artifacts that are like, been sitting in a particular spot for hundreds of years. And I just learned this weekend that insiders call that kind of stuff flub because they want to have a code word to be able to express to other artifact hunters what they're talking about without everybody in the diner realizing what has happened. But because everybody in that part of the world is also an artifact hunter, it is a secret that isn't a secret at all. Everybody's talking about flub except for the, people like me that don't understand what's going on. So if you are in a part of the world that I'm thinking like, parts of Canada, Montana, and you hear folks talking about flub, you are hearing people talk about hunting for ancient artifacts. So there's a fun fact that I can share with everybody. Just become deeply unpopular with everyone in my part of the world. But Daniel, that is a wrap for today. Thank you so much for being on the show, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And thank you for listening. Join us next time as we meet with another frontline tradesman out there keeping America running. Thanks for listening to The Dispatch. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with a friend in the field.